Hey, this is Henry Rollins. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. I want you to know that this show is sponsored by NatureBox. NatureBox ships tasty and guilt-free snacks right to your door. With over 100 flavors to choose from, like Asiago and cheddar cheese crisps, pistachio power clusters, and Big Island pineapple, you'll never get bored of snacking again. Try NatureBox for free by going to naturebox.com/Henry and Heidi. That's naturebox.com/Henry and Heidi.
Delicious.
It's it's puppy chaos here at the Henry Rollins Heidi May podcast. Heidi's been walking around the office for the last several minutes insisting that Heidi, what does the office smell like?
Puppy breath.
The office smells like puppy breath, ladies and gentlemen.
It does.
It does. And of course I can't smell it because I have no ability to smell puppy breath in the air. Heidi has this thing with smell. She has hearing that is, I can't stand it. You can be 10 miles away from her and say, shut up. She's like, you shut up. Like, wow. And she has this odd sense of smell. Like, we'll get in the car. It smells like snakes and bubble gum. Like, excuse me? It smells like hedgehogs, leather, and cabbage. It's like a very eclectic snout Heidi has. What is it? The olfactory? And she's smelling things all the time. It smells like cookie dough batter. And today it was puppy breath.
Walk upstairs.
No.
It smells like puppy breath.
It doesn't.
It does.
Not to me, it doesn't. But it does to you. So you know what, folks? The office is rank with puppy breath. Hence, the soundbite at the beginning of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in for another one of these podcasts. You keep digging them. We'll keep doing them. Thank you so much for your mail. That is so friendly, so encouraging. Thank you for sending in your ideas, many of which are fantastic, the worst of which are really good ideas, but I just don't know if we can make an entire podcast out of them. However, we appreciate any and all. So thank you so much. My name is Henry Rawlings, and next to me is Heidi May. And we are the co-conspirators, co-combatants in this damn thing that keeps rolling along, wounded, angry, and somehow sustaining itself on its own momentum. It's amazing, or it's something. It's rank and puppy breath. And so today, Heidi has a topic she wants me to talk upon. Do you have your headline ready as well?
I've got my headline, yeah.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to tackle or salt or discuss before we get into the topic you want me to expound upon?
Do you want, I can give you two options and you could pick the topic, or I could just...
I think you just do what you want and I'll make do. I'm better in those situations where I have to dig myself out.
Well, which one do you want to do?
Well,
Do you want me to give you an option?
No, I want you to
Okay.
assign me.
All right.
And watch me go.
Well, I think this came from Facebook because Lisa sent it to me. She handles all of that, and she sent me this. And I think it's a good idea. Mr. Pepperman.
Ah. Okay. Many years ago, I wrote an article called The Iron. And I believe I wrote it for Details magazine, or I wrote it. And my editor said, hey, it's like 1990, 1991. My editor said, hey, you got anything rattling around there that you might want to send us? And I went, well, I just wrote this thing. It's unbearably long. And he read it and went, wow. And I think, if I'm wrong about this, I believe it was Details, and they printed a version of it, kind of a shortened version. And then eventually, I think I put it out in the Black Coffee Blues book, or maybe one after, I forget. But it was about weightlifting, or my experience of it, when I was a young guy in high school, and how it was the first substantial transformative event of my life. And it seemed to have rung true with a lot of people. And I had a lot of experiences over the years, over the decades now, with people telling me, hey, you wrote that thing about weightlifting. I'm like, yeah, thank you, man. That got me to go into the gym. And okay. And somewhere along the line, it became known as the Iron and the Soul, which is not a, I've always called it the Iron. It was someone tacked it on. But apparently, if reports are to be believed, it's tacked up on gym walls. It's been passed around. Many years ago, we were mixing an album in Los Angeles at a place called Can-Am, the Weight album. And I met the receptionist. I went in there to do some vocals on something. And the receptionist said, "Did you write something about weightlifting?" I went, "Yeah, the Iron." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "We just had Aerosmith in here. And Steve Tyler made me Xerox that article for every single person who came into the studio when they were mixing. He loves that article." I was like, wow, that's cool.
So when you met Steven, did he bring that up?
I forget. He and I spoke in like 2007 about all kinds of things, mainly about music and life. And there's no way I didn't say, "Hey, you had the lady Xerox the thing at Can-Am." There's no way I wouldn't have told him. No way I wouldn't have told him. What he said about it, I have no memory, but there's no way I wouldn't have brought it up because it was a way for me to say, "Hey, you've heard of me." But he was actually really cool. Remember that scene? I interviewed him for the show, but he had a point where he said, "I want to talk to Henry without managers, agents, producers. I just want to talk to Henry before I do this. Here's my number. Have Henry call me." And that was like some Saturday. I was given the number. And I'm like, wow, I'm cold calling Steve Tyler. I'm just doing this. A little nervous, actually. And I dialed the number. And this, hello. I said, "Hey, this is Henry. I'm all polite. This is Henry Rollins for Steve Tyler." And immediately the voice on the other line, it's him. He just goes, "Ow, baby, I'm amazed with the way." He starts singing. I'm like, this is Steve Tyler. And we had this amazing conversation. I'm sitting in my kitchen on the phone with Steve Tyler. And then we met at Swift River, did the interview. It was all cool. Anyway, that article got to people what it is about. And that's why you said Mr. Pepperman. It's about this teacher I had, Mr. Pepperman. So there's the setup. Many years ago, I went to a school called Bullis Prep School for Boys. It's now co-ed. And I went there from 6th grade until graduation. I graduated in 1979, so do the math. And I can't figure it out in my head what year I started going, 1970-something. And, you wear your uniform, blue blazer, white shirt, striped tie, blue and gold, gray pants, black or blue socks, black shoes, black belt. You look like one of those guys that when you're walking by, you want to punch the kid out when he's waiting for his bus to pick him up. I lived in the city. The school was way out in the suburbs. And some years, the school bus, there was enough kids in my neighborhood where the school bus would make a journey out. And then there would be 1 year or two where the bus would have to drive an extra 10 miles to get to you. And I don't know what arguments go on. I'm a kid. Maybe my mom dealt with the school. But there was a couple of years where teachers who lived in the city like I did would just say, "I'll pick up Henry." And maybe they worked out a deal with my mom. They got a little gas money. I have no idea. But for a few years on and off, I would go to school with a teacher in his car because he was local to me and then the school bus wasn't. Then those teachers would leave and I'd be back on the school bus again. Somewhere when I was still in lower school, so somewhere when I was in 8th grade, we get a new history teacher. He is a Vietnam veteran. And a lot of the teachers, this is a naval prep school. And so it's not exactly a military school. You're not drilling. There's not rifles. You're not out at 8 a.m. doing push-ups or whatever. But a lot of your teachers were ex-World War II, ex-Korea, ex-Paris Island, West Point and Naval Academy graduates. So there's a lot of, "You call this an essay, stand up." A lot of that stuff. And a lot of your older World War II guys would blow off the course that day to tell you a war story. And that was a great way to get out of taking math. Colonel Hamilton was a tank driver for Patton, and he used to smoke a pipe in class. And he would sit on the desk in those weird,
awesome.
Smoke a pipe. He was kind of like the angry den father. He's always angry, but you knew he really liked you. Mm-hmm. "Henry, friendo, playboy of the Western world, you've got to get this stuff." And he would sit with one leg on the desk in some kind of weird macho pose. And in those days, the teachers all had those weird bandlon pants that stretched. And the waist would meet you around the navel, and they had long sideburns, huge tie knots. It's the 70s, and everyone looked like Rowan and Martin's Laughing, a little ridiculous. And even at the time, you're like, you look silly. But we go, sir, war stories. Like, gentlemen, okay. I'm in this train on the way to Calais, and he would go into some story, and it was amazing. And like, all right, back to math. And it's like, so a lot of your older guys were your grouchy grandfather, but they liked kids, somehow. They never yelled at you mean. They just kind of were loud people. And we had some Korean War vets, and then more academics who were coming from the military industry. And by this 1970-something, we have, to my knowledge, one Vietnam War veteran teacher. And he was different from all the teachers.
In what way?
The other ones were loud, and we did this, and this is Mr. Pepperman. He's younger than all of them by quite a stretch. And he's real quiet. And he's really intense. And he is built. He is a tank on two legs. And I'd watch him work out in the gym. He's one of those guys with like the T-shirt that sweats through, gray gym pants, Converse sneakers, with a jump rope with 3 10-pound weights tied to it doing bar dips. Like workouts that make you puke. Like workouts that you run from. Just scary, this is going to hurt kind of workouts. We all kind of marveled at him because he was built like a fullback. And he was from somewhere in Pennsylvania, where I found out later they're just big mountain boys. They're just big people. And his part of Pennsylvania was quite the picking ground for Vietnam. A lot of people in his area, men, were drafted. And if you've ever if you've ever seen the film Deer Hunter, he comes from that. He was a deer hunter. The father, everyone in his family hunts, good with guns, raised with guns, quiet hunter type. He was our history teacher, which is one of those classes that was routinely taught to me and maybe you and millions of other American kids as read the next 5 pages, where you could take it as a study hall, and the teacher wasn't that engaged because he didn't like it neither. And so you were never taught history with anyone who's like history nut. It was always a disinterested athletic coach. Mr. Pepperman was not an athletic coach. He was just like this guy who was your teacher. Hello, I'm Mr. Pepperman. I don't want anyone talking out of class. And that was the first day. Call me Mr. Pepperman or sir. Walk in, sit down, open your book, shut your mouth. And like he said in such a way we're like, I got it. Like he was terrified. A really good guy in my school. His name was, I won't give his name, in case he doesn't want to ever be known. Really good guy. Ended up being our class president. Just a really solid dude. And he was the guy I worked and bought the clothes he had. So I wanted to be like him. Because he's such an easygoing guy. I'm like, man, if I get the right Adidas, I'll be easygoing like him. It didn't work, of course. And everyone liked him. Good student, good athlete. Never was mean to me. Anyway, he talked, he said something. And all of a sudden, Mr. Pepperman, and I'm not exaggerating, he has picked this kid up by like, his underarms or the collar, the lapels of his jacket. He's got a hold of this kid on like kind of basically has his pectoral muscles like just grabbed, has picked this kid up and slammed his shoulder blades to like the top of the blackboard. Like he's up over Mr. Pepperman's shoulders. He has pressed this kid up in the air like he's doing an overhead press and has slammed this poor kid who's, we're little. It's like 8th grade. We're small people. Wham! And the whole class, you could hear hair growing. And this kid sat down at his desk trying not to cry. It was more humiliation. He wasn't hurt. So he's the poor guy sitting there like doing that thing. And we all felt for him because we're so glad it wasn't us. And so no one razzed him about it. Everyone's like, hey, man, are you okay? Like afterwards, we're like, here, do you want a lifesaver? like, you poor guy, give him a hug. And we got it. No one ever talked out of turn in that guy's class. And so all of a sudden, he's taking 3 kids to school.
So it wasn't just you.
No, it was me in the front seat. And then as we got more out to the suburbs, there's 2 more people we picked up, and really nice houses like in Chevy Chase or Bethesda. Those are really nice neighborhoods. I lived in a nice, normal Glover Park. It's like little houses all smashed together. You've been there. It's a real normal. These kids lived, a little nicer. And so he picked me up first because I was kind of on the way out towards the suburbs. So he and I would have this time together getting out of the D.C. snarl of traffic. And so when I'm in the car with him, I'd say, "Good morning, Mr. Pepperman," because I'm all drilled. "Good morning, sir. Call me Denny." When we're in the car, call me Dennis. But when and he used a lot of choice words. Like when those 2 get in the car, call me Mr. Pepperman. He didn't like the other 2 guys. For some reason, he liked me. As much as Mr. Pepperman can like you. He's a really gruff guy. I'll detail it. Anyway, so we get to become kind of sort of friends. As much as he's not a friendly guy, he kind of sullenly accepts your presence. Not mean, just we drive to school sometimes in silence. One time, we're up by Tenley Circle, which is just on Wisconsin Avenue, going out, I guess, towards Maryland. There's an orange light. I think he stops. The car behind him beeps.
Oh,
and then you start hearing Mr. Pepperman. You're like, "Oh, no." And you imagine like a bull. You imagine like the windshield getting steamed. Mr. Pepperman is angry. And this is a guy, they're all wearing those kind of stretchy band lawn shirts. He's a guy who could make the shirt stretch with his biceps. I'm not exaggerating. He looked like part bodybuilder because he was such an impressive hunk, and he worked out like a maniac. Full football player guy, waist up like a perfect V. And you see him like he's mad. But it's something I didn't understand until maybe 30 years later. It's more anger than I'm grumpy and I have to go teach a bunch of rich kids at school. He's got another.
Well, the anger is about something else.
Yes, and it's an anger some 12-year-old kid or 13-year-old kid doesn't understand, because I don't understand war, PTS, etc. But Mr. Pepperman is coming home to a lot of stuff, and he hears a beep, like someone's mad. Oh, you're angry?
Oh, no.
You want to have a problem? Like he's probably been waiting for something like that since he got home. Someone to tee off on, like please. And so the light turns green. Mr. Pepperman turns the car off. And I'm like Ritalin boy. I weigh like 8 ounces. I'm like, oh no. Because I'm afraid of something, they're going to beat me up or something. And then I remember who I'm in the car with. And I'm like, wow, he's going to kill someone. I don't think I've ever met anyone this angry, because the anger is so deep. It's like, wow, his DNA is angry. It's more than just, I'm going to get a hold of you, son. It's like, it's a whole other thing. I didn't understand it. I'm terrified of it, though. And no one behind him beeped. I think everyone went, just leave it alone. They knew something in that car. No one wanted a piece of it. So anyway.
Did he get out?
Nope. He just waited for someone to come up and knock, I think. And
okay.
If he got out, I think all of Washington, D.C. would have went, it's cool. It's no problem. Anyway, he and I do start talking. And he realizes that older guys can see things in a younger guy. Like this young, nervous kid has no father figure. Mm-hmm. That he has no older male. Because I ask him questions like, when you meet a girl, he's like, okay, this kid's got no rudder. He's got no compass. He's got nobody saying, son, here's how it is. And that's when he became begrudgingly nice to me. He's never going to smile. He never smiled. He kind of laughed at you like, that sucked. But he started saying, okay, is there anything you want to talk about? Like, well, yeah, this scares me, or I have a problem with it. And he'd go, okay. And we'd get into these discussions. And he really became like the scoutmaster, or like another dad, or like the really cool older brother. And we would start talking, or I'd start talking probably too much, as soon as I got in the car, until the other 2 got in, and then we'd be back to Mr. Pepperman, and we'd all kind of shut up. And then he said to me, and I'm going to omit the exact language. You're a skinny little, he put a word in there, you need to lift weights, and I'm going to teach you how.
Is that because you were being bullied?
No, in that school, I was not in the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade or sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, I forget what grades it was one building, and then there's the upper school, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And you'd only go to the upper school for lunch in the basement cafeteria. You never met a, quote, upperclassman, but we didn't have a military posture in our school like that. Like, the upperclassman wants you to drop and give him 20. We just had a bunch of bored, sullen rich kids sent to this school because there's a disciplinary problem in the other school for rich kids.
I'm just trying to figure out why he would say that. Do you think he saw that you needed some self-esteem?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. And I was the middle-class kid. There's a number of us middle-class types in with these kids whose father built paid for the tennis court. Another guy's dad helped build half of the track. These are very wealthy families. And their kids are flipping off the teacher in the other school. So this school, they're like, if he flips us off, he'll never see his finger again. Good. And I was sent there because, your son has a discipline problem. We know what to do with that.
Who chose that school for you, your mom or your dad?
Good question. If I was ever told, I have no memory of it. I have no idea.
I'll ask your mom next
time. I bet you will. Anyway, but honestly, I have no idea. All of a sudden, I'm going there and I'm getting fitted for my little outfit, and I was terrified because it was so different than anything I'd ever experienced. Like, I'm putting a tie on. Who are all these boys? I mean, it was the first 6 months of the first year was a little pretty crazy because none of the teachers were. But
did you get in trouble at that school? Like you had?
Later on, no, not on being disruptive. Later on, when puberty hit, I'd get demerits for being a wise guy. Like, oh, really? Did you just say, oh, really to me? See you Saturday. Like, man, he didn't get it. Like this, we're going to do this. Or maybe we're not. Oh, someone just got Saturday.
So do you think?
That was me.
Do you think that your parents sending you to that school was a good idea?
Ultimately, yes.
Okay.
Because I got tons of discipline and focus. I hated it. Mm-hmm. There wasn't one day I liked, besides you graduated, you never have to see this place again. But I liked English class because, you can read and talk about words, and all of that was easy. The rest of it was like hieroglyphs. I never got math. And science was kind of sort of cool, but math to me was so obtuse. It was so frustrating not to ever get it. And do 2 years of summer school over math. Like, wow, I just don't have it. And there I am burning half my summer with the other idiots who don't get it. And we all, we're just the worst people at that school. We're all in together. All the people you don't like, you end up in summer school with them. It's like a second hell. You see them all year in school. You're like, you guys again? And they all look at you like, oh, we all ended up here. We are the dregs. Anyway, he said, you're a skinny little expletive, and you're gonna get your little mama to take you to Sears and Roebuck, and you're going to buy a 100-pound sand-filled weight set. Went to Sears and Roebuck right up Wisconsin Avenue, very near where Mr. Pepperman stopped his car. I can't, and I'm insecure, so the nice man takes the dolly, takes the weight set to the trunk of the car. My mom's 1968 fastback, which she gave me eventually as a graduation present, with the dent on the hood from where the mace canister bounced off while my mom was caught in a traffic jam due to riots.
Oh, man.
We'll be late for dinner due to riots. Anyway, I can't get the box into the trunk because it weighs like 100 and some pounds. But I'm trying to, I got this. And the guy knows that I don't got this. So he goes, don't worry, young man, I got this. And we somehow get it into the trunk of a VW Fastback. I have to unpack the weights from the car and bring them in because I can't carry this long rectangular box that weighs 100 plus because you got the bar and all that. And I'm very embarrassed, even in front of my mom. I can't lift it. It's like trying to lift the car itself. And so I eventually schlepp it all into the basement. We lived in a house for like 3 or 4 years, and I schlepped it into the basement where I lived. And I went to the gym, school gym, with Mr. Pepper, and he said, okay, here's a curl. Here's this, here's that. And he would just show me, here's some simple compound lifts. Curling, reverse curling, when people used to do that. It's an ancient exercise. Overhead dumbbell, whatever. Simple, boom, boom, put it down kind of lifts. and you're going to keep a record of every lift you do. Do like 3 of 10 of this, and he gave me a little menu, easy to do. Got a notebook, write down the date and what you lifted and how many weights. And he's like, go up 5 pounds a week, which is probably not the best advice. That's how you can like just
destroy yourself.
You could destroy yourself. But I think that was the regime, something like that. It was like intense. But the kicker was you're not allowed to look at yourself in the mirror until I say you can. And this guy showing that much interest in me was huge. Because I would talk about more things on a deeper level with Mr. Pepperman than I ever did with my dad. I just can't have the girl discussion with my dad because he would say things that were so just unbearably misogynist. Just like it would peel the paint off your... I can't even repeat it. It's... wow. And so, but Mr. Pepperman I can talk to because he's younger and he gets me. Anyway, I did everything he told me to. And I start noticing I have this appetite that I've never had before because I'm burning my body up in the evenings. I get home, I can't wait to do the weights like he told me to.
Were you still taking Ritalin?
Yeah, which is an appetite suppressant.
Yeah.
At least in me it was. I'm not a doctor.
Oh, no, it is.
Okay, because in me it was like no appetite. Around that time, the weights and puberty all kind of hit me at once. So I stopped taking the Ritalin. The appetite jumps up, but with the weightlifting combined with rapid growth because I'm a young person, now my lunch tray resembles the jock's lunch tray, which had that line of milk. They would like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 milks, little tiny boxes across the front of the tray. I'm like, oh, he's a jock. He's drinking milk, builds a body. And all of a sudden I'm craving milk. And I'm asking the guy, when they're serving hamburgers, can I just have the hamburger? Can I have like 2 extra patties? My body is screaming for food. Like by lunchtime, I am like a locust.
So were you lifting weights in the morning with him?
No. I was doing this all by myself in the basement with Sears and Roebuck weights.
Before school?
After. I get home.
After.
Yeah, I get home and run right to the basement, sometimes with my school clothes, and do it. And it probably wasn't the hardest workout, because I had what I had. I didn't have a bench. So I'm doing, a little overhead. Sometimes I do the workout twice. So I was so into it. And it was so much fun because your body wants to work. And when you're that age, you got endless amounts of energy. And so I feel, and I'm religiously not looking at myself I'm looking at my face. I don't even know if I was barely shaving yet, but I'm not looking at my body. I'm really not. Like not even... I really was doing everything he said.
Did you ever want to, take a peek?
No.
Okay,
it was weird. I wasn't tempted. I was so wanting to do what he told me because I was so...
That kind of makes me sad.
I was so invested in someone being invested in me.
Right.
I didn't want to betray...
him.
Yeah, and the attention he was giving me.
Yeah.
And so also...
I'm going to start crying.
Also, well, it has a happy ending. But I was also working at the pet shop. My wife has fish. Can you come over and clean the tank? Oh, no, it was a directive. You're coming over to clean the tank. Okay, he picked me up like on a Sunday or something, twice. And I went and met his wife. She's beautiful, really soft-spoken. Like, hi, I'm Denny's wife. I'm like, oh, hey, Ms. Pepperman. And I cleaned their fish tank. I brought all my stuff that I borrowed from the pet shop, the bucket, the squeegee. I did the whole pro job twice. And... so I lifted, this was like somewhere, September, October, and I lifted the weights, and he said, at Christmas break, you can look at yourself. And
are you joking? September, months.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. When you were taking a shower and stuff, could you feel your
Oh, hell yeah.
body changing?
Oh, yes.
And when you looked down, could you see it was changing?
I never did much leg because he never gave me any below the waist exercises.
But you could
there's
feel
never
your
squats.
arms.
No. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I'm my clothes are fitting differently. Like, oh, okay. The shirt feels too small in the shoulders. The shirt is too small in the neck. Something's happening, but I don't have a tactile visual. So I'm not like feeling myself.
Was anyone
up.
saying anything, like your mom or your dad, noticing the physical change?
No. But I do remember having more confidence at gym class just because I have a physical And here's the thing I wanted to get across. I don't think the reason I think this is a worthwhile story and a good thing to when people sent in and asked is because I think it applies to a lot of people. You don't have to be some guy lifting weights. You can be a girl or a guy or anything. But when you're young, and maybe you have a version of this, maybe you do. I'm just saying, when you're young, you're trying to figure yourself out. That's, as David Bowie says, you're going through changes. Like, who am I? Where do I fit in the world? That's why young people do dumb things. They're just trying to figure out, where do I plug in? Different hair, different clothes, different sets of friends. I had no existence in the world. There's nothing that said you are here besides the jobs I had. And that was a huge thing for me. Like, responsibility, you're paying me. I need to be there at 6. Like, wow, someone wants me on the team. And that was such a big deal to me. But I had no physical, you know that Nietzschean Darwinian, well, Darwinian for sure. The proving ground of the gym. Okay, you guys will play basketball. You two, you're the team captain. You're the team captain. Pick your team.
Yeah.
It's me and the guy with the thick glasses. I never am getting picked because I'm just not good. You throw the ball to me, it hits me in the head. I'm so not the guy you want on the team. Within about a month, I'm getting picked to be on the team, whatever the sport was, throw the ball at someone's head or whatever. Not the top 3, but I'm not the last guy on the bench anymore. Where the coach goes, all right, you're going to go to that one. I mean, you must play. It's a school rule. But I was no longer being assigned to a team by Coach May. I'm in the lower third, but I'm not the last guy. Because I've got some physicality that they can see that I can't. So something's happening. And then for the first time in my life, and it was a feeling that was so foreign to me, I had the tiniest taste of confidence, of esteem. Not necessarily confidence, but it's like, I am here, and I'm going to take a little bit of respect, thank you. Which was, I never got that from any of my parents. My father terrified me so much, I never wanted to say, hey, you shouldn't talk to me like that. He may have said, wow, all right, check you out. He may have.
I think so.
Yeah, he very well would have said, all right, that's good for you. I never, ever, I was terrified. And I never had an opportunity to do that with anyone else. Because if you sassed your teacher, Saturday, full uniform, 9 to noon, it wasn't worth it. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, I'm here. And it was like discovering electricity. It was like reinventing the wheel. It was so momentous to me. It was incredible. And it went strength to strength. Like the next day, you're like, yeah. And you start to get opinions. And no, I'm not going to do that. You stand up for yourself a little. And this is all happening very quickly. September, October, November, early December, right? Christmas holiday. And so to get out of school for Christmas, you had to run the gauntlet of like mid-year exams, which are just like the worst thing of your life. These like ancient, these epic length exams in every class. If you can get to the last one and get to Christmas holiday, it's like you've just been let out of Sing Sing. You're like, I'm alive! Because you get time away from this place. And for me, it was like the best thing that ever happened was the holiday, to get away. And Mr. Pepperman drove me kind of near where I lived. He never would really go near where I lived. He would just kind of drop me off. It was a nice hike, but it was fun. And when I visit D.C., I still go to the light pole on Massachusetts and Wisconsin, the intersection, where he would pick me up. That light pole is still there. And when I go visit, I walk up from the hotel I stay at, walk up to that pole and lean against it and look down Massachusetts Avenue, just like I used to, waiting for his car to pull up, just to do it.
Wait, let me ask you something. So he's driving you to school while you're doing this. Is he saying anything to you about the changes? Is he seeing it yet?
He wasn't saying anything to me. He never gave me any encouragement, like, hey, you look pretty big. He just said, are you doing your lifts? And I'm like, yes, sir, I'm doing that. And we talk about weightlifting, and he talked about like the football players he had worked with, like in college and all of that. Then he would talk about the war stuff, and he would tell me war stories. Anyway, Christmas time. I said, so I can look at myself. He goes, you can look at yourself today. I fairly run back to the house we lived on W Street. And I run to the mirror, take my white button-up shirt off, and I look different. I'm not some muscle-bound guy, but I have shape. I have lat muscles. I have biceps. I look like a guy who works out and eats, like who's been working out like a rabid fiend for like 90 days, 100 days. Like it was noticeable, like, whoa. And in those days, you have like no body fat, especially a guy like me. I'm like whippet thin. So I was all cut up. Like, wow, abs. Like, damn. Like, I kind of marveled at myself. You know, kind of all kinds of things. Impressed, kind of digging the way I looked in the mirror. You're like, well, all right, I run from me, like whatever. But like I did that because, as you know, the weights don't lift themselves, and that was all me, because it's just you doing the work. And it was the first time I felt a sense of achievement that I could see. Working a day at the pet shop, doing all the work, you achieve that day and you leave, and you're like, okay, I cleaned 1 million cages. But this was, look what I've changed in myself. And the muscles were one thing, and the least important and revelatory thing, it was the mind change. That was the real lesson, the real gift, was like, I have some confidence. I have an idea that I deserve to be respected. And if it takes some physicality to get your mind to that place, because you should be thinking you deserve some respect, because hopefully you'll give it to get it. And by giving it, you allow other people to get it so they can get it. It's a win-win thing. But you have to dig yourself and respect yourself before you can be
Absolutely.
Right. And I didn't have it. I just had fear. I feared my teachers, feared my father, feared the kids in my neighborhood. So I was obedient and kind of cowering, which isn't respect, it's just fear. And you're pliant. You'll do what you're told, not out of mutual respect, but I don't want you to yell, I don't want you to hit, I don't want you to humiliate. That's the worst, is the humiliation. And so Mr. Pepperman gave me this incredible gift and it sounds new agey, but he gave me to me. He allowed me to see what I can do by caring, by like being a coach, or like being an older brother, or like a scoutmaster. The older guy who goes, hey, son, you're all right. Do this. And my father he taught me how to fight. I have fighting lessons with my dad. And we work on upper body stuff. And then he would teach you dirty fighting. Like, okay, and here's when you go, you're like, really? And you're like, yeah, which I've never done that. But there's an area, where you're quickly incapacitated. And his idea was to go right there, which has been done to me. And I can't tell you how effective that is. Anyway, Mr. Pepperman was perhaps the most influential male of my young adolescent life, besides maybe Skip at the pet shop, who gave me a lot of, he said, hey, you can work here and you're a good guy and here's your paycheck and here's how you do the cash register. I'm going to trust you with the money. That was big to me. Huge. But it wasn't as huge as a, hormone raging young person getting in touch with his body as a thing he can respect, maintain, want to do good things to it and for it. Like, don't put beer in it. Don't put tobacco in it. To take good care of it.
Did he say all those things to you?
No, I just, that was Ian. Mm-hmm. And no one in our neighborhood that I hung out with, we're like crazy bicycle, Schwinn Stingray off the fake jump guys. We're skateboard guys. We were physical, run around like maniacs in the sun types, like kooky, crazy energy. So some of our friends, hey, we're going to drink beer. Like, really? We're going to go skate this tennis court that has a little bank until the cops kick us out at 2 a.m. We're not getting high. Was never. I got drunk a few times in high school. I was curious, and some of those guys I wanted to be friends with. It's like, hey, Henry, have a beer. Like, okay, I want to belong. And I never liked alcohol. It was always depressing. But I tried it a number of times. I wasn't good. 3 beers, I just puke. I just don't have a stomach for it. And I never liked the way I felt. I just felt kind of lost and nauseous. But Mr. Pepperman was hugely impactful for a teenage person becoming a young man.
Okay, let me ask you. So, you look at yourself in the mirror, you see the difference.
Yeah.
Do you go and show Mr. Pepperman?
No, but I told him, when I saw him like January, whatever, when we resume, like, hey man, I really did the thing. And he went, okay, good. So keep working out, which I did. And it got to the point.
Still do?
Yeah. And it's all because of him.
Right.
All because of him. And now it's like you work out all the time. Without it, you can't sleep, can't deal, you're irritable. Food doesn't taste right. I mean, everything is wrong unless you're working out, especially whatever. For me, it's depression builds up. I don't know what it is for you. It's like maybe anxiousness.
I have a lot of energy.
Well, like that.
I need to get it out.
Yeah. And so this becomes a necessary part of your life, like your friends, like, whatever else that's necessary for you. And for me, it's always been a place to go with. It's what you do at that time of day. You go hit it. Otherwise, you're like everything that's not good. Nervous, pent up, irritable, irrational. But it was Mr. Pepperman who gave me that, if you will. And then, at one point, for I don't know the reason, he left. And he was there for 3 years. And he was my history teacher 1 year, 8th grade. Then I went to the upper school. New building, new teachers, new world, where I'm the little guy, young guy, and everyone is either my age or much, much older.
Are you still driving with Mr. Pepperman?
No. I think that lasted like 1 year, and either he moved or the deal changed, but I was back on the bus, but away from him. And so I reconnected with him because now in an effort, they tried to make the school nicer. Like when I was there, it was very austere. When the instructor is never called a teacher, when your instructor walks in, you stand up. You stand up behind your seat with your hands placed on the top of the chair and look straight ahead because he's looking you over, make sure your tie knot is up, your hair's right. He'll like, okay, your hair's too long, get a haircut, pull your tie up. What color are those socks? Where's your belt? And like you'd get inspected. That stopped, and you don't have to get up anymore. And they would say, you no longer have to get up when the instructor comes in. Some of us older school convicts, we would just get up if we couldn't help it. Guy would walk in, you're like, oh, sorry. And you'd sit down again because you're just inculcated 3 years of that, 4 years of it. Anyway, in an effort to make the school friendlier, I don't know the right word, you had a student advisor, as they do in schools everywhere. Like a teacher, you can go say, look, this other teacher's being mean to me unnecessarily. Can you help me with that? Or this guy's being mean to me. I don't know how to handle it. Hey, older, smarter person, teach me how to handle this. It's a good thing for a young person to have an adult to go into a room with and go like, I'm mad about this and I don't want to get in trouble, but what am I doing wrong? They assigned me to Mr. Pepperman. So all of a sudden, I'm seeing Mr. Pepperman again in this room. And you can tell he's so not into this. He hated the students because he saw them for what they were. And I'm not going to put these kids down. They're just kids. But, a lot of them are very privileged.
Entitled.
Yeah, but it's not their fault. It's their environment.
That's right.
But he resented it.
Okay.
And so you can see that thing. I go into his room, and he's like, yeah, what? I'm like, hey, Mr. Pepperman, good to see you again. I'm up in the upper school now. And he's like, yeah, I know. And so I had a problem with another student who's 2 years older than me, 2 grades up. I'm in 10th grade. He's a senior. This guy has, for some reason, singled me out. And he shouldn't, because he's like a senior, but he's soft, and I'm probably not a guy he should be messing with. He just doesn't know.
Maybe he thought you were an easy target. I
don't know, because I'm not skinny, and I don't know what it was, but this guy didn't like me. I have no idea. I had no bones to pick with this guy. He's an upperclassman. He's from Mars. I don't see those. older guys. I don't have any classes with them. You know what I mean? They get in the lunch line, they get in front of you. You take it. You don't go up to a senior, hey, you cut in front of me. Like, that's not going to go down well. And so we didn't have that hazing thing or like, hey, lower classmen, go get my lunch. Everyone left each other alone because we were all kind of all miserable there. And so we didn't have that bullying thing, really. Believe it or not, that was, as far as I could see, a couple of the guys who became gay, who like hit puberty and whoops, I'm gay and I can't keep it a secret from everyone. Because you see a lot of guys. I had pretty good gaydar because I had gay bosses. I'm a city guy. In D.C., it's like super gay. And you'd see some guy, you're like, yeah, probably gay. And then 2 years later, puberty hits him and he's just like, he is who he is. And you're like, oh no, that poor guy. Because, the teachers would, people would pile on. But not one guy got brutalized because a teacher started teasing him. And
that teacher should have been fired.
And once the teacher did it, it's what, as they say, the green light.
Exactly.
And it became viral. He did it in one class. I was in the class. And once he did it, the entire population of the school, by the next period, everyone knew. Because if a teacher does something, you can do it. Especially teasing a kid.
That's not cool.
It was so not cool.
Did that teacher get fired?
No. But the kid did try to kill himself in the dorm. And he did leave at Christmas break, whatever year that was. Never came back. And no teacher ever once brought his name up again. It just never happened. It was never spoken of again. Yeah, very bad.
Pisses me off.
And one time I did a show with Richard Hell opening in Hoboken at Maxwell's. And Richard Hell was so mad he was opening for me. And I would have been happy. He's Richard Hell. I'll open for him.
Why was he mad?
Because he's Richard Hell. He wrote Blank Generation. Why is he opening for me? It's like spoken word poetry night. And like I don't think he ever liked me. But he had to open. And that night, I told that story about the kid who got outed and put upon. And he was a cool kid, but he's different and in an intolerant environment. And a guy another reader, poet on the bill, the guy who opened for everybody, he came up to me and he said, I was that kid, but I didn't get it. I'm like, oh, I thought it was the kid from school.
Right.
I said, oh, so you were the one? He said, no, I'm just saying. It
happened to him.
That happened to me. I'm like, I'm just numb in the head. I'm like, oh, so you're not the guy. He said, no, and he said, that was me. That happened to me. Thank you so much for saying that. Like, that's my story. And I was like, okay. And I learned a lesson that night, like by telling someone else's story. I wasn't a gay kid in high school. So that was not I had other problems. That was not my story. But I found out that night by telling it, you can be helpful to other people. And I never forgot that. That was huge. I went, okay, next time I see a story like that, or I'm around it, or kind of in the mix, I'm going to tell it because it can do that. Anyway, I told, Mr. Pepperman said, you got anything on your mind? I go, yeah, there's this guy. And again, Mr. Pepperman, he's got the language. He goes, any name of student, let's just say Jones. Jones, I hate that. I'm like, wow, that's strong. Like coming from a teacher.
Was this kid pushing you? Was he being physical with you?
Just verbal.
Uh-huh.
And, and I'd walk by and he'd say, hey, and, you just take it. But he never put his hands on me. It was just like every time he'd see me. And I'm getting madder and madder because I'm a teenager. I got a head full of steam. And, I'm just pissed. And you don't want to get in a fight in school because you'll do like 5 Saturdays, which is 9 to noon, in your uniform, study hall. I missed the pet shop. I'd miss my paycheck. I'd put my boss in a horrible fix because he'd have to double time to get his animals cleaned. And I have to take the public bus out there, which is like a day and a half each way. I mean, your day, you get home at like 2:30, like the day's done, and you have to get up at 6 to get out there by 9 because, the bus. So it's just not worth it. You take any abuse from anyone because Saturday was such a good deterrent to not act up. And it worked. We were little angels because you did it once. Anyway, of course I did it all the time because I'd sass, if that's a word. Anyway, he goes, you do what you need to do with Jones. I'll take care of the rest. I said, Mr. Pepperman, what does that mean? He goes, you do what you need to do, and I'll take care of the rest. I don't quite get it, but my temper was, and he green-lighted this kid by saying that beep, 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 and like now it's open season on this guy because a teacher just cursed him out. Like the one teacher green-lighted.
And he just gave you the pass to do what you needed to do.
Yes. Which didn't hit me as hard as him using expletives to describe that kid. Like, that's a teacher in the school building talking like that. It's like, wow, that's refreshing. Anyway, within 24 hours, that guy passed me in the hallway and called me something. And for the first time ever, I said, well, screw you too, or something. And he's looked at me and said, outside. And of course, you've seen this 80 million times. You walk outside, the whole school empties. Everyone's like, yay, because they've been probably waiting for this for a long time. So I wanted to kill this guy. So I said, let's walk way over here where no one can stop this. He goes, no, right here, right now. Which basically says, I'm a little scared. So I said, no, let's go way over there. It'll just be the two of us. He's like, no, right here, right now. I said, all right. And I'm not good at fighting. Not then, not now. And so he did something, I dodged or whatever, but I came at him with a left, which is probably all the business I had. One of those punches that takes a year and a half, like, here it comes, going round the horn. And connected with him solidly in his right cheek, forcing his cheek against his teeth, opening up this awful blowhole in the side of his head. He hits the ground. I'm on top of him, about to hit him again. It's going to be like boom, 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 like in a movie. All of a sudden, I feel the strongest hand, like Iron Man, the Hulk,
Everyone
thing,
mixed together.
This hand grabbed me by my hair, my neck, the skin on my neck, my spine, my uniform, and lift me into the air. Mr. Pepperman has pinch gripped me off the ground. Enough. Inside. Jones goes to the hospital and gets stitches. Like, it's not a Band-Aid. He went away that day. Comes back the next day with like a comedy film bandage job on the side of his head. Like, oh, you ran into the wrong guy, did you? It's like something out of a casualty of Popeye. And I see him, and everyone's like, yo, way to go. I'm like, oh, boy. Because you know what's coming next. You got to go to the disciplinarian, General Price. And, someone's going to talk. I mean, it's, and all of a sudden, it's me and Jones in front of General Price. Gentlemen, why are you two standing in front of me here today? Of course, we're not saying anything. Henry, why do you think you're here? I don't know, sir. You're just rope-a-doping, hoping that the bell will ring and you'll be excused. Jones, I notice a bandage on your face. What happened? I got hurt, sir. What's the nature of your injury, son? I had some stitches in my cheek. And how did you come upon getting those stitches in your cheek, young man? Jones looks at me, looks back at General Price, and says, and his voice goes down low like, here's what you say when you get asked. I fell down the stairs at the gym. Our gym was built on a cement slab. There's no stairs in it. It is a basketball court on a flat slab with a Quonset hut roof thing over it, built by one of those General Steel, places. There's no steps. There's no stairway. And I knew that. General Price, I think you can't fool him. He understood. And he went, gentlemen, if I see either one of you in front of me again this year, I'm going to land on both of you. I'm going to land on you with both feet. Am I clear? We both said, yes, sir. You are dismissed. And we walked out, and this is where I'm the jerk. We walked out into the hallway, and Jones stuck his hand out to shake mine. Like, all right, let's get along. I'm like, no. Screw you, man. Like, I should have been a better sport, but I was mad and,
you were a teenager.
Immature, but mostly mad. Like, you're not my friend.
No.
And it was nice to kind of go, no, I'm not giving that to you. And he made this pained face, like, wow, a 10th grader kicked my ass, a youngster, and he wouldn't even shake my hand. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done this to this kid. Like,
right.
If you're, who looks up to a bully? I mean, who goes,
no
hey,
one.
man,
no one.
That's bitching.
No.
And so that began my time. And let's be clear. It wasn't the weightlifting and all of that made me able to hit another man. But it was the weightlifting and the validation of myself that allowed me to get a voice to squeak out of my mouth to say something back to this guy, like, no more, like, screw you. Without the weightlifting and the self-validation and the I am here because I can feel myself, I might not have done that. I can't tell. But the confidence and the self-esteem gave me this posture of like, you need to stop talking to me like that. And today is the last day you do that. So that's where the weightlifting was the lesson. And that started my last 2.5, half of 10th grade, 11th and 12th, as my life of Tony Soprano at that school. I'm the 10th grader who hospitalized a senior. To probably a lot of the teachers, like, that kid's all right. He's got potential. My classmates, I'm a god. To 11th graders, they're like, okay. The seniors are all impressed. And the guy I hit, he became the school joke because a kid 2 years younger didn't kind of hit him back, put stitches in his head. And I'm not remembering any repercussions. I don't remember my father or my mother saying, okay. And since Mr. Pepperman took care of things, and who knows what, I'd love to meet him again and thank him for all of this. I've never seen him again.
What do you mean? That was
after he left. I think he left when we got out of 10th grade. You know what? At one point, on the last day of 10th grade, for me, his last day, my last day of 10th grade, I had 2 more years. He drove me, I got in his car, and he drove me back. And as a special bonus, since the last time we're seeing each other, he drove me 4 blocks towards my home off Wisconsin Avenue so we could go back onto Massachusetts Avenue to go downtown to where he lived. And so we went on Wisconsin Avenue, past Massachusetts, down towards Wisconsin and Calvert. He made a left on one of those smaller streets, pulled over to the right side of the street, and I'll never forget this. Sometimes I go to that place as well and stand there where his car pulled me over. He said, hey, if I never see you again, either who cares or so what? I think it was so what? If I never see you again, so what? And that was his parting shot to me. I went, okay, well, thanks, bye. I've never seen him again.
Did you ever try to look him up?
Yes. In the internet days, I've looked him up, and if I had any success, I would have been able to tell you something. In that, I'm not remembering, so obviously nothing happened. However, we were at the old office. This was before you were there. It's 94 or 95. I get either an email or the office phone rings. I honestly forget. Maybe it was the phone. Forgive me, I forget. I get either a phone call or a letter. It was an email. I'm remembering now. It was an email from a girl. I read your thing on Mr. Pepperman. He is my stepfather.
Wow.
Mr. Pepperman apparently divorced that lady.
Okay. Married
again, moved back to Pennsylvania. I guess after he taught at my school, he just bailed on D.C. It probably wasn't working for him. So he went apparently home where he became a teacher there. And she became aware of me because of the Liar video. Because Mr. Pepperman said, I used to teach that guy.
Wow, so he saw it.
Yes. And she said, wow, that's like my favorite band or my favorite song. And he went, yep. See that build? I taught him how to do that.
Wow.
So she wrote me and said, my dad saw you, my stepdad, and I wrote her back. I said, I've been thinking of your dad now and then since I was a teenager. And I kind of wrote it out for her. I go, your stepfather changed my life. Like he made things possible for me. And I kind of gave her a very abbreviated version of what I just told you. And I said, what's he like? And she wrote back and said, he looks really old. I said, okay. Oh, and I said, well, tell him I said hello. And then I never heard back from her. He never wrote me. I do shows in Pennsylvania every tour. I'm not exactly sure like where he is, or if he ever has heard of a gig of mine, but I have never reconnected with him again.
It would be really,
and I'd like to.
It'd be nice for you to be able to thank him.
Yeah, I'd like to thank him in person and tell him how my life has been and ask him what, where his path led him. Because besides punk rock music, which is another one of those things that your ship comes in and there you go. Besides punk rock, which was the biggest sea change ever, Mr. Pepperman is like one of those Mount Rushmore faces for me. Like Ian was a huge influence on me, and Ian's family. But Mr. Pepperman, he's like, for my teenage years, he's like my guy. Where I can't say that about my dad. Anyway, long story, semi-long. Weightlifting changed my life. But the deeper story is Mr. Pepperman gave me the go to realize myself. And you don't have to weightlift to get it. You can do anything where you go, I'm in the house, I'm in the mix. I deserve you to respect me. I take up space in the world. I have mass.
Well, I'm grateful for Mr. Pepperman.
Yeah, he helped me, and I wrote that thing because of him, the iron. And if I'm to believe the letters I get, that article has helped a lot of other people. And so it's that thing, that kind of feel-good thing of you do something good, it becomes infectious or it goes viral, where a little ripple, a little stone, the ripples are bigger than the size of the stone.
We need to find Mr. Pepperman.
Yeah, if any of you listening have ever had a pretty angry, muscular man say, yeah, I taught that little bastard in school in the last century, and it is him, please let us know. I mean, it would be cool to thank him. So let me see, let me dial this up. Oh, what's this, Heidi?
Oh.
What's that sound?
Woo.
That awful sound can only mean one thing, podcast listener. Let me cue up the next one. So slick. Yeah, check me out. That can only mean one thing. It is time for another one of, you can't wait for it, Heidi's Headlines. On a huge canary yellow index card with crazy Heidi writing. Oh, and P.S., thank you for getting Before the Chop 2. Thank you for your wonderful letters and your positive commentary on the portrait of Henry Rollins done by Heidi that graces the back cover. We've been getting these letters. Great drawing of you, man. Thanks, bags under my eyes. Henry and Heidi see a man peeing on the street. Henry rolls down the window and yells, "Put that away, sir." Okay. A long time ago, back in an age that man has forgotten, in the last century, I lived in Washington, D.C. and grew up with my best buddy, Ian Mackay, who is one of the funniest people ever. He keeps it, kind of close to the vest, but man, he's always funny. And one time we were walking up the alley of the 930 Club, the old 930, and we're walking up the alley, and it was an alley where a lot of drunks would relieve themselves. And it was not uncommon in that neighborhood late at night to see celebrants from a venue or those unable to find a restroom relieving themselves. Ian had a way of dealing with these people who we took great offense to for them not being able to find a proper facility. And he'd go up there and run at them. Put that away, sir. Sir, put that away. That is disgraceful. You see some poor drunken guy go, oh, what? And there's Ian, punk rock Ian, like admonishing an adult. Put that away, sir. Sir, put that away.
Oh, see, now I thought you came up with this yourself.
Oh,
It
no,
made
no.
me laugh so hard.
No, that's
Oh, my God, you stole this from Ian.
yeah. But I've been saying that.
That's the first time I heard you say it.
Oh.
You rolled down the window, and you were so earnest. Sir!
Yeah, that's how he would do it.
Well, anyway, it made me laugh, but now that I know you stole it from Ian.
What is a cover?
All right, it's a cover.
It was like me covering Louie. Well,
Oh, my God, I love that. You sound like you're 10.
What can I do? Like, Heidi, the thing I'm about to say was taken from Ian Mackay in 1980. Put that away, sir. That brought to you by Ian Mackay. No, I just did the thing, and you laughed because it is funny. So, Fanatic. Fanatic, sorry. When I have a microphone sitting here, I think I'm doing the radio show. Sorry. Reassign. Podcast listener, thank you so much for tuning in. I am going to, there it is. Until we get together with you next time, thank you for your cards and letters. Thank you for indulging us with these crazy stories. And so now, track 2 of the CD will fade out. And so everyone's gone now, Heidi. Does the room still smell like puppy breath? So use your snout, inhale.
It's upstairs.
Okay, so there's no puppy breath down here.
I don't smell it down. It's upstairs.
Thanks for listening.
Well, dear listener, the show is over, and that means it's time to get free snacks at your door from NatureBox. With over 100 options to choose from, get the bold flavors you crave and feel smarter about snacking. Go to naturebox.com/Henry and Heidi to start your free, may I say that again, free trial. That's free food from NatureBox. That's naturebox.com/Henry and Heidi. Do it.
On and off, I would go to school with a teacher in his car because he was local to me and then the school bus wasn't. Then those teachers would leave and I'd be back on the school bus again. Somewhere when I was still in lower school, so somewhere when I was in 8th grade, we get a new history teacher. He is a Vietnam veteran. And a lot of the teachers, this is a naval prep school. And so it's not exactly a military school. You're not drilling. There's not rifles. You're not out 8 a.m. doing push-ups or whatever. But a lot of your teachers were ex-World War II, ex-Korea, ex-Paris Island, West Point and Naval Academy graduates. So there's a lot of, you call this an essay, stand up. A lot of that stuff. And a lot of your older World War II guys would blow off the course that day to tell you a war story. And that was a great way to get out of taking math. Colonel Hamilton was a tank driver for Patton, and he used to smoke a pipe in class. And he would sit on the desk in those weird,
awesome.
Smoke a pipe. He was kind of like the angry den father. He's always angry, but you knew he really liked you. Mm-hmm. Henry, friendo, playboy of the Western world, you've got to get this stuff. And he would sit with one leg on the desk in some kind of weird macho pose. And in those days, the teachers all had those weird bandlon pants that stretched, and the waist would meet you around the navel. And they had long sideburns, huge tie knots. It's the 70s, and everyone looked like Rowan and Martin's Laughing, a little ridiculous. And even at the time, you're like, you look silly. But we go, sir, war stories, like, gentlemen, I'm in this train on the way to Calais, and he would go into some story, and it was amazing. And like, all right, back to Matt. And it's like, so a lot of your older guys were your grouchy grandfather, but they liked kids, somehow. They never yelled at you mean. They just kind of were loud people. And we had some Korean War vets, and then more academics who were coming from the military industry. And by this 1970-something, we have, to my knowledge, one Vietnam War veteran teacher. And he was different from all the teachers.
In what way?
The other ones were loud, and we did this, and this is Mr. Pepperman. He's younger than all of them by quite a stretch. And he's real quiet. And he's really intense. And he is a tank on two legs. And I'd watch him work out in the gym. He's one of those guys with like the T-shirt that sweats through, gray gym pants, Converse sneakers, with a jump rope with 3 10-pound weights tied to it doing bar dips. Like workouts that make you puke. Like workouts that you run from. Just scary, this is going to hurt kind of workouts. We all kind of marveled at him because he was built like a fullback. And he was from somewhere in Pennsylvania, where I found out later they're just big mountain boys. They're just big people. And his part of Pennsylvania was quite the picking ground for Vietnam. A lot of people in his area, men, were drafted. And if you've ever if you've ever seen the film Deer Hunter, he comes from that. He was a deer hunter. The father, everyone in his family hunts, good with guns, raised with guns, quiet hunter type. He was our history teacher, which is one of those classes that was routinely taught to me and maybe you and millions of other American kids as read the next 5 pages, where you could take it as a study hall, and the teacher wasn't that engaged because he didn't like it neither. And so you would hunk, and he worked out like a maniac, full football player guy, waist up like a perfect V. And you see him like he's mad. But it's something I didn't understand until maybe 30 years later. It's more anger than I'm grumpy and I have to go teach a bunch of rich kids at school. He's got another...
Well, the anger is about something else.
Yes, and it's an anger... Some 12-year-old kid or 13-year-old kid doesn't understand, because I don't understand war, PTS, etc. But Mr. Pepperman is coming home to a lot of stuff. And he hears a beep, like, someone's mad? Oh, you're angry?
Oh, no.
You want to have a problem? Like, he's probably been waiting for something like that since he got home. Someone to tee off on? Like, please. And so the light turns green. Mr. Pepperman turns the car off. And I'm like Ritalin boy. I weigh like 8 ounces. I'm like, oh, no. Because I'm afraid of something, they're going to beat me up or something. And then I remember who I'm in the car with. And I'm like, wow, he's going to kill someone. I don't think I've ever met anyone this angry. Because the anger is so deep. It's like, wow, his DNA is angry. It's more than just, I'm going to get a hold of you, son. It's like, it's a whole other thing. I didn't understand it. I'm terrified of it, though. And no one behind him beeped. I think everyone went, just leave it alone. They knew something in that car. No one wanted a piece of it. So anyway.
Did he get out?
Nope. He just waited for someone to come up and knock, I think. And
okay.
If he got out, I think all of Washington, D.C. would have went, it's cool. It's no problem. Anyway, he and I do start talking. And he realizes that older guys can see things in a younger guy. Like, this young, nervous kid has no father figure. That he has no older male. Because I ask him questions like, when you meet a girl, he's like, okay, this kid's got no rudder. He's got no compass. He's got nobody saying, son, here's how it is. And that's when he became begrudgingly nice to me. He's never going to smile. He never smiled. He kind of laugh at you like, that sucked. But he started saying, okay, is there anything you want to talk about? Like, well, yeah, this scares me, or I have a problem with it. And he'd go, okay. And we'd get into these discussions. And he really became like the scoutmaster, or like another dad, or like the really cool older brother. And we would start talking, or I'd start talking, probably too much, as soon as I got in the car, until the other two got in, and then we'd be back to Mr. Pepperman, and we'd all kind of shut up. And then he said to me, and I'm going to omit the exact language, you're a skinny little, he put a word in there, you need to lift weights, and I'm going to teach you how.
Is that because you were being bullied?
No, in that school, I was not in the upper, the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade or sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, I forget what grades it was one building, and then there's the upper school, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And you'd only go to the upper school for lunch in the basement cafeteria. You never met a, quote, upperclassman, but we didn't have a military posture in our school like that. Like, the upperclassman wants you to drop and give him 20. We just had a bunch of bored, sullen rich kids sent to this school because there's a disciplinary problem in the other school for rich kids.
I'm just trying to figure out why he would say that. Do you think he saw that you needed some self-esteem?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. And I was the middle-class kid. There's a number of us middle-class types in with these kids whose father built pay for the tennis court. Another guy's dad helped build half of the track. These are very wealthy families. And their kids are like, flipping off the teacher. And they never taught history with anyone who's like history nut. He was always a disinterested athletic coach. Mr. Pepperman was not an athletic coach. He was just like this guy who was your teacher. Hello, I'm Mr. Pepperman. I don't want anyone talking out of class. And that was the first day. Call me Mr. Pepperman or sir. Walk in, sit down, open your book, shut your mouth. And like he said it in such a way we're like, I got it. Like he was terrified. A really good guy in my school, his name was, I won't give his name, in case he doesn't want to ever be known. Really good guy. Ended up being our class president. Just a really solid dude. And he was the guy I worked and bought the clothes he had. So I wanted to be like him because he's such an easygoing guy. I'm like, man, if I get the right Adidas, I'll be easygoing like him. It didn't work, of course. And everyone liked him. Good student, good athlete. Never was mean to me. Anyway, he talked. He said something, and all of a sudden, Mr. Pepperman, and I'm not exaggerating, he has picked this kid up by his underarms or the collar, the lapels of his jacket. He's got a hold of this kid. On kind of basically has his pectoral muscles just grabbed, has picked this kid up and slammed his shoulder blades to the top of the blackboard. Like he's up over Mr. Pepperman's shoulders. He has pressed this kid up in the air like he's doing an overhead press and has slammed this poor kid who's, we're little. It's like 8th grade. We're small people. Wham! And the whole class, you could hear hair growing. And this kid sat down at his desk trying not to cry. It was more humiliation. He wasn't hurt. So he's the poor guy sitting there doing that thing. And we all felt for him because we're so glad it wasn't us. And so no one razzed him about it. Everyone's like, hey, man, are you okay? Like afterwards, we're like, here, do you want a lifesaver? like, you poor guy, give him a hug. And we got it. No one ever talked out of turn in that guy's class. And so all of a sudden, he's taking 3 kids to school.
So it wasn't just you?
No, it was me in the front seat. And then as we got more out to the suburbs, there's 2 more people we picked up. And really nice houses like in Chevy Chase or Bethesda. Those are really nice neighborhoods. I lived in a nice, normal Glover Park. It's like little houses all smashed together. You've been there. It's a real normal. These kids lived, a little nicer. And so he picked me up first because I was kind of on the way out towards the suburbs. So he and I would have this time together getting out of the D.C. snarl of traffic. And so when I'm in the car with him, I'd say, good morning, Mr. Pepperman, because I'm all drilled. Good morning, sir. Call me Denny. When we're in the car, call me Dennis. But when and he used a lot of choice words. Like when those two get in the car, call me Mr. Pepperman. He didn't like the other 2 guys. For some reason, he liked me. As much as Mr. Pepperman can like you. He's a really gruff guy. I'll detail it. Anyway, so we get to become kind of sort of friends. As much as he's not a friendly guy, he kind of sullenly accepts your presence. Not mean, just we drive to school sometimes in silence. One time, we're up by Tenley Circle, which is just on Wisconsin Avenue, going out, I guess, towards Maryland. There's an orange light. I think he stops. The car behind him beeps.
Oh,
and then you start hearing Mr. Pepperman. You're like, oh no. And you imagine like a bull. You imagine like the windshield getting steamed. Mr. Pepperman is angry. And this is a guy, they're all wearing those kind of stretchy band lawn shirts. He's a guy who could make the shirt stretch with his biceps. I'm not exaggerating. He looked like part bodybuilder. Because he was such an impressive. Hey, this is Henry Rollins. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. I want you to know that this show is sponsored by NatureBox. NatureBox ships tasty and guilt-free snacks right to your door. With over 100 flavors to choose from, like Asiago and cheddar cheese crisps, pistachio power clusters, and Big Island pineapple, you'll never get bored of snacking again. Try NatureBox for free by going to naturebox.com/Henry and Heidi. That's naturebox.com/Henry and Heidi.
Delicious.
It's it's puppy chaos here at the Henry Rollins Heidi May podcast. Heidi's been walking around the office for the last several minutes insisting that Heidi, what does the office smell like?
Puppy breath.
The office smells like puppy breath, ladies and gentlemen.
It does.
It does. And of course I can't smell it because I have no ability to smell puppy breath in the air. Heidi has this thing with smell. She has hearing that is, I can't stand it. You can be 10 miles away from her and say, shut up. She's like, you shut up. Like, wow. And she has this odd sense of smell. Like, we'll get in the car. It smells like snakes and bubble gum. Like, excuse me? It smells like hedgehogs, leather, and cabbage. It's like a very eclectic snout Heidi has. What is it, the olfactory? And she's smelling things all the time. It smells like cookie dough batter. And today it was puppy breath.
Walk upstairs.
No.
It smells like puppy breath.
It doesn't.
It does.
Not to me, it doesn't. But it does to you. So you know what, folks? The office is rank with puppy breath. Hence, the soundbite at the beginning of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in for another one of these podcasts. You keep digging them. We'll keep doing them. Thank you so much for your mail. That is so friendly, so encouraging. Thank you for sending in your ideas, many of which are fantastic, the worst of which are really good ideas, but I just don't know if we can make an entire podcast out of them. However, we appreciate any and all. So thank you so much. My name is Henry Rollins, and next to me is Heidi May. And we are the co-conspirators, co-combatants in this damn thing that keeps rolling along, wounded, angry, and somehow sustaining itself on its own momentum. It's amazing, or it's something. It's rank and puppy breath. And so today, Heidi has a topic she wants me to talk upon. Do you have your headline ready as well?
I've got my headline, yeah.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to tackle or salt or discuss before we get into the topic you want me to expound upon?
Do you want, I can give you two options and you could pick the topic, or I could just...
I think you should just do what you want and I'll make do. I'm better in those situations where I have to dig myself out.
Well, which one do you want to do?
Well,
Do you want me to give you an option?
No, I want you to
Okay.
assign me.
All right.
And watch me go.
Well, I think this came from Facebook because Lisa sent it to me. She handles all of that, and she sent me this. And I think it's a good idea. Mr. Pepperman.
Ah. Okay. Many years ago, I wrote an article called The Iron. And I believe I wrote it for Details magazine, or I wrote it And my editor said, hey, it's like 1990, 1991. My editor said, hey, you got anything rattling around there that you might want to send us? And I went, well, I just wrote this thing. It's unbearably long. And he read it and went, wow. And I think, if I'm wrong about this, I believe it was details, and they printed a version of it, kind of a shortened version. And then eventually, I think I put it out in the Black Coffee Blues book, or maybe one after, I forget. But it was about weightlifting, or my experience of it, when I was a young guy in high school, and how it was the first substantial transformative event of my life. And it seemed to have rung true with a lot of people. And I had a lot of experiences over the years, over the decades now, with people telling me, hey, you wrote that thing about weightlifting. I'm like, yeah, thank you, man. That got me to go into the gym. And okay. And somewhere along the line, it became known as the Iron and the Soul, which is not I've always called it the Iron. It was someone tacked it on. But apparently, if reports are to be believed, it's tacked up on gym walls. It's been passed around. Many years ago, we were mixing an album in Los Angeles at a place called Can-Am, the Weight album. And I met the receptionist. I went in there to do some vocals on something. And the receptionist said, did you write something about weightlifting? I went, yeah, the Iron. I'm like, yeah. She goes, we just had Aerosmith in here. And Steve Tyler made me Xerox that article for every single person who came into the studio when they were mixing. He loves that article. I was like, wow, that's cool.
So when you met Steven, did he bring that up?
I forget. He and I spoke in like 2007 about all kinds of things, mainly about music and life. And there's no way I didn't say, hey, you had the lady Xerox the thing at Can-Am. There's no way I wouldn't have told him. No way I wouldn't have told him. What he said about it, I have no memory. But there's no way I wouldn't have brought it up, because it was a way for me to say, hey, you've heard of me. But he was actually really cool. Remember that scene? I interviewed him for the show, but he had a point where he said, I want to talk to Henry without managers, agents, producers. I just want to talk to Henry before I do this. Here's my number. Have Henry call me. And that was like some Saturday. I was given the number, and I'm like, wow, I'm cold calling Steve Tyler. I'm just doing this. A little nervous, actually. And I dialed the number, and this, hello. I said, hey, this is Henry. I'm all polite. This is Henry Rollins for Steve Tyler. And immediately the voice on the other line, it's him. He just goes, ow, baby, I'm amazed with the way. He starts singing. I'm like, this is Steve Tyler. And we had this amazing conversation. I'm sitting in my kitchen on the phone with Steve Tyler. And then we met at Swift River, did the interview. It was all cool. Anyway, that article got to people what it is about. And that's why you said Mr. Pepperman. It's about this teacher I had, Mr. Pepperman. So there's the setup. Many years ago, I went to a school called Bullis Prep School for Boys. It's now co-ed. And I went there from 6th grade until graduation. I graduated in 1979, so do the math. And I can't figure it out in my head what year I started going, 1970-something. And, you wear your uniform, blue blazer, white shirt, striped tie, blue and gold, gray pants, black or blue socks, black shoes, black belt. You look like one of those guys that when you're walking by, you want to punch the kid out when he's waiting for his bus to pick him up. I lived in the city. The school was way out in the suburbs. And some years, the school bus, there was enough kids in my neighborhood where the school bus would make a journey out. And then there would be 1 year or two where the bus would have to drive an extra 10 miles to get to you. And I don't know what arguments go on. I'm a kid. Maybe my mom dealt with the school. But there was a couple of years where teachers who lived in the city like I did would just say, I'll pick up Henry. And maybe they worked out a deal with my mom to get a little gas money. I have no idea. But for a few years,